Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hi there and welcome to the show. Today, Duane Zingale will be joining me. I met Duane several months ago through some mutual colleagues. We immediately connected as we both do similar things for our clients. Similar, yet different. And we both very much believe in relationship-based marketing, and we both tend to get distracted by the cool tech stuff out there to improve our processes in our businesses. I'm a regular listener to his podcast titled The Marketing Your Movement Show. Now, when Duane is not lost in a Lego fairy tale land with his two amazing daughters, they're adorable by the way, he's likely to be found geeking out on crafting relationship-based marketing funnels with his Listen Funnel framework. And it's not about building a funnel for the sake of it. Duane is a digital ad specialist and digital integrator and founder of the digital marketing group Legacy Catalyst. This guy loves tech. His mission with Legacy Catalyst is to get beyond more than just a business, but to champion movements that will change the world one life at a time, leaving a lasting legacy. He likes to say when you leave your digital footprint today, you start leaving your legacy for tomorrow. And that's why he believes starting a movement is the most powerful way to market and monetize your personal brand. That's why he launched the Marketing Your Movement Show to help personal brands such as coaches and consultants lead a transformational community and earn a return on their influence. Duane helps his clients leverage automated marketing systems to create contextual conversions, using Duane's Listen Funnel framework to build a relationship with potential clients through their customer journey. Now, I won't delay any further. Let's get right into the conversation with Duane. Welcome, Duane. I'm so glad you're here on the show.
Thanks for having me, Gayla. It's a joy to join you and talk about stuff we're passionate about.
To get things started, Duane, tell my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am a father, which is probably what I'm most excited about in life, and husband. But I, on a daily basis, am a digital marketer, and I believe in marketing your movement. That's sort of the message I get excited about, because marketing in this game of sharing the message, especially as coaches, consultants, and service providers, is so much more than just selling the thing, but really how a friend of mine likes to say it, making the sale is not about closing a deal, but opening a new relationship. And I absolutely live to create those connections, and marketing transformed my life. I was in a dire straits moment, and because somebody was willing to champion their message, I was willing to take a gamble and risk spending my money. And I found a passion I didn't know existed inside of me. And so I live the world of tech and love tech. And I've always been one to just dive in. Okay, we need a website. Let's figure that out. Okay, the copywriting doesn't make sense. Let's figure it out. And so just kind of continually moving from the nonprofit world of always finding this stuff, found myself drawn to the marketing world, and sometimes drawn back to the nonprofit world because they need help.
Indeed. Now, movement. Can you explain marketing or helping your clients market their movement versus a business?
Yeah. So a movement doesn't necessarily have to be a business, but a movement in a lot of us as coaches and consultants, when you have a movement, it precedes your marketing in that a movement is driven by a sense of causing something in people's lives. We're seeing a lot of movements right now, some we disagree with, some we love, some we're excited about, but there is a sense of momentum in movement. What I like to kind of give as an analogy is the idea of a plumb line. And a plumb line is a construction device. Of course, it has a weight on the bottom. You put it on the top of a wall, and you let the weight draw. And of course, the line has a powder that you can snap, and then you can get a straight line to make a cut or drill holes or whatever it may be. But of course, it creates a very clear path. A term to use that we're all very familiar with from Simon Sinek is knowing your why. And really what it is the power of the why can create momentum in your messaging that leads to locating a community, but then eventually nurturing them for your success. And when you have a movement and you see success in your clients and your customers' lives, they begin to pick up the torch of your message and the excitement of your message. And if you truly have a movement, you're growing customers who become messengers of your cause, of what you're going out to do. And so really it's in your business and in growing your business, you're driven by your why. Your messaging is driven by your why, and your tribe, your community is picking up that why and kind of carrying forward, much like Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, he carried a message forward in the 60s that brought an incredible transformation to our country, where you will not be judged on anything but the character that you carry and the merit that you provide. And of course, that has changed this country dramatically. Gandhi's another movement maker. Of course, these guys driven a little bit more by political agenda. To give it to a company, somebody that's done it well that everybody would know of is, of course, Tom's Shoes. He has sort of a movement, a cause, something he wants to see beyond just selling shoes, but seeing children get shoes for their feet in foreign countries. And so building a company off the idea of a cause.
Nice. In helping your clients with propelling their movement, how exactly do you do that? I mean, how do you serve them?
Sure. So when I work with clients, I first like to just kind of deep dive into where they're at, what they want to see in people's lives, and getting deep into their why. In that, there's a method, I think it's taught by a Toyota, is ask why 7 times. So, you know, why do you do this? Well, we need to make money. Well, why do you need to make? Well, this, provides for our team. Why do you need to provide for your team? Well, they get to go home and be with their families. Why do you want, just going deeper and deeper and deeper into really what is this sense of purpose that's driving you forward? Because a purpose-driven person is extremely powerful. And it's become sort of this, 2020, everybody's, the year of passion. We've all been talking passion for the last 10 years versus, just do it because it makes you money, or just do it because it's good for you. That's kind of surfaced that passion and purpose-driven life is powerful and effective at really bringing high morality to people you work with, all that. And so we dive into 3 elements that make the foundation of a good marketing and sales system, which is connecting one with the brand and kind of the experience and the emotional cause around it. Brand is really driven around the visual, the verbal, and of course the value experience. And then connecting that with a story. And that's where those whys really come out in a personal story. And you can tell 7 stories, and I won't steal the thunder because a friend of mine could speak a lot more to that. But some of those, of course, are just, what is the personal story? What's that personal drive? More than ever, this idea of authenticity, although overused, is true. And people connect to that sense of, oh, why are you doing this? Well, I believe in people's legacies, which is my answer. Why do you believe in people's legacies? Well, I had this experience where I was in dire straits and had no idea where I was going to live because I couldn't pay rent in 2 months, where I received an inheritance out of the blue and was able to buy a house. And now I'm able to stand on the shoulders of my family lineage because they gave me a legacy that now I don't have to worry about something and I can go do greater things, and how that legacy means it can be a catalyst forward. That's why I named my agency Legacy Catalyst. But digging into those stories paired with a brand experience, and then finding an offer that meets kind of that audience's needs. Who's that story going to reach? Who's that brand going to talk to? And what offer are they going to get? And in this fundamental strategy, you can find the center of that Venn diagram, 3 items overlaid, gives you a center point. And then I help them build a sales strategy, or in my world, a funnel, which a lot of marketers will know what that is, where you can then build a system that consistently delivers that message. And I use what I've called the listen framework, which is sort of an idea of helping build a sales funnel that no longer objectifies your audience, because I'm just another story of something that breaks my heart and makes me angry is I got into this game and it was, oh, go hook people. It just sounded like you were using people to make money. And of course, being a relationship-driven guy myself, had some experiences in my success of tapping out and plateauing somebody's company, and discovering that when you can create digital empathy, you can see a tribe and a community grow, such as some mutual friends of ours have done, where you can just live that message versus living the grind of chasing the dollar. So helping implement that listen funnel framework, from planning a digital strategy and how that would be delivered, to building it through the tech and what tools do I use, and do I go on ClickFunnels, or do I go on WordPress, what email platform, setting up all the tech. And then of course, a big powerful part is of course continuing to locate new audience and community members who come into that funnel, who become buyers, who become raving fans and a part of your movement.
Do you help with drawing out the messaging and help them with copywriting?
Yeah, so I do help with drawing it out. A big part of it is if you got the wrong message or you're not telling your story right, you'll either reach the wrong group of people or it'll fall flat. And so one of the first things I do is ask a lot of questions so I can understand what's coming from your why and what's coming from your message. And then I like to say we're going to meet people's felt needs, doing some research, going online and just seeing the words they're using. And if they have an audience, surveying their audience to really understand where they feel stuck. And they're going to, be in, I'm stuck in this problem and pain, and I don't know how to get here, where I have this idea of reaching, financial freedom or whatever it may be, right? This picturesque romance of getting somewhere. What's the path there? And laying out a creative briefing of kind of the story and how you go from one story to the next story to connect with people along their journey, so you can really get to know them, have key moments of interactions, and leveraging automation to create contextual conversations, of course, around those problems you can help them solve. So a big part of it is planning out that message, seeing a strategy that will work, and then laying out the tactics to apply that strategy.
It sounds like a big project. People should not think that should be, oh, well, you just have an hour-long talk with me and then snap of the fingers, you have automation and you don't have to worry about it. How long does this process typically take, and what should people expect?
Yeah, so the process can take, generally for me and when working with people, it'll take me about 2 or 3 days of just digging in and researching, because there's so much context and nuance. And while a lot of things are the same, there is just the nuance that can make such a difference in the way you tell your story and connecting with people. And then, yeah, it does not happen over an hour call. I really like to deep dive and make sure that creative briefing comes out. So I'll do generally a number of sessions over 2 weeks, or we'll just cram it in and do a whole bunch of front end research. And then I'll spend 4, 5, 6 hours really working through the creative briefing, just to have a plan of how that brand and that story messaging and who you're reaching and that offer is going to connect, so that you can deliver the right funnel. There's a chant and saying that's really good marketing, you're one funnel away. But how much greater would be if you picked the right funnel instead of trying hundreds of funnel. And yes, experimentation is a huge part of this game. You can't learn without doing. but it sure helps if you put a lot of time and energy into planning and strategizing so that you're going to have, one, better lessons, and two, you should have more success on an earlier go so you can fund and keep going on that path of learning and getting to know your audience and gaining a greater reach.
Sometimes we're so busy and we hire somebody to help us and we just think that the problem is going to go away. But there's still more that we need to do as business owners so that the individuals that we hire get into our mind and can really help us communicate who we really are. And once we have that, I mean, because I know in my line of work, and which we broadcast our clients, messages. We try to tap in. We help with the details of the consistent stuff that you got to do to create content. And then having a nice strong funnel from the get-go to give you clarity. Oh my goodness. And what I love is having an outsider pick out words or pick out things that, what's the old saying? You can't read the label inside the bottle, right? I like that an outsider will pick out things that you might not necessarily see. And it's so much easier to write for somebody else and be their cheerleader than to be your own cheerleader. Or tooting my own horn. I can't do that as well as because I don't know about you, I get passionate and excited about what my clients are doing and what they stand for and building their relationships. And I kind of downplay mine, my own stuff, and it's hard for me to, toot my own horn. So it's great to have somebody else from the outside to help with that.
Yeah, it is. And it really is that. Even as a digital marketer, I sound like I know it, and I love doing this for clients. It's really hard to do for myself. And I draw my team in, and I draw in coaches and consultants to help me do it because, let's face it, it's really easy to work in the business. Facebook posting, right? Oh, man, this needs to happen. Okay, I'm going to spit some words into a microphone and hope that podcast was okay. So to get caught up in everything that needs to get done, especially as a service-based agency and a consultant, my mind is, like you said, always super excited. And of course, working with movements, people of passion, people who are in it because they want to see transformation in people's businesses and lives. It's easy to get wrapped up in it because I'm helping them not only communicate that message to their audience, but communicate that message to their employees, to their contractors, to people they're freelancing with. And as you said, right, if you get this strategy and this movement and from a creative standpoint what's going to be delivered, the stories that are coming forth, that brand clarity makes everybody's execution 10 times easier. And without that, I've tried to, let me help you really quick. And I'm like, I don't have brand clarity. I don't have story clarity. I don't know what you're selling. You end up with muddy waters. Nobody makes any money. You get frustrated. And so that outside perspective is imperative to get on a regular basis.
It sure is. I know this of you and your line of work, you have to be kind of tech oriented. You like tech.
I do.
And with what you do in building funnels, there's a certain amount, no matter what tool it is, and so no matter how much they advertise how simple it is, there is a lot to getting all the details to have the message flow at the timing that it needs to flow from the different systems where it comes from. There's so many details. And I don't know about you, but many of my clients consider themselves technophobe. Do you have that as well? And do you come across folks that are intimidated by tech?
Not only, I've come across a broad range of, just as passionate about me, but they're just too busy to keep managing it, which is a reason that there's just so many places to get lost. And I've had one client who knew very well how to do it, but anybody like me can find themselves ooh, toy, right? Shiny object syndrome, new SaaS software. Oh, I was committed to get all this stuff done, but I just wasted 5 hours. My wife's not going to be angry because I got it right. And so, from all that spectrum, but yes, I do run into a lot of people that, whether it be technophobia or I kind of get it, it's really easy to lose a lot of time in the technology, especially when you don't live it on a day-to-day basis, especially when it's not a part of your system. So when you're looking at a new piece of tech or leveraging new elements of something you have into it, it's not a part of your day-to-day system, which means it's going to take 10 times as long as you expected it to. So tech is a big part of our lives now. And that's why I like to say I love tech so you don't have to, because I'm always exploring and trying to watch the market. And I have a friend of mine who just says, Duane, you sound platform agnostic. And the truth is I don't care what you have because it's all going to do the same thing. It's going to show some people some words on a page with a pretty design that's going to eventually take their money and keep in touch.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's the important part, is keeping in touch, keeping the relationship going, not getting a shiny object like this tech piece is going to solve all my problems. It might make your life easier and save you some time, but it is it's imperative that you keep building those relationships.
Well, I find that it's not the tech piece that's the key. It's the piece that you were talking about earlier. It's the planning, it's creating that process. And then the automation can happen later with whatever tool that can fit in the budget. It's creating that funnel. It's the words. It's the timing of things on how that works. That's the key. But then and I've been guilty of this myself, it's just like you've got a pain and you want it to go away, and you think, oh, this shiny new object, I'm using these other tools which are okay, but if I go over here, then it's supposed to be this easy peasy type of software. And then once you get it and invest in it, it's like, I do not have the time to invest in totally creating it. I think as business owners, if we focus on our message and focus on that and have service providers that love to and are in the space to try out a lot, they're networking with a lot of different people, and that's where they're at, is check out all this new tech. I love checking out new tech, but sometimes you just can't, and then when you grow to a certain level in your business, it's like, but I have some that they're so knee deep in worrying about what platform to have like their emails sent out on. And they don't even have an email list, and it's okay to send out individual emails, to connect on an individual level.
Mm-hmm.
And pair up with somebody that can walk you through the journey of getting you up to have a full-blown funnel. Do you work with folks that are in the startup stage or have been doing it for quite some time and they need help, like not necessarily a rebrand, but a remessaging?
So generally what I find, and kind of I follow Todd Herman's 5 stages of business, is you're going from startup, which is you're trying to figure out what is the right offer. Who am I talking to ramp up? You've
Mm-hmm.
dialed in that message, and now it's time to have a systematic way of selling. And that startup season is the time to be sending those one-on-one emails, to call, to be getting more on podcast, very organic marketing, because those one-on-one experiences are going to teach you a lot, because in this experience of talking one-on-one right now, I can dynamically respond. I can read how you're reacting. I can check your body language, because amazingly, this thing called video goes anywhere in the world now. It baffles me how amazing this is. And that dynamics really helps with the startup. So I really find that I like helping people who've gotten through some of that learning phase, have broken maybe the 6-figure mark or really close to it. They've got an idea of at least their core offer. They know, if I just do this one thing over and over and over, I know it won't scale, but I can have a nice, healthy business where I can start focusing on the things that will scale. So kind of going from, okay, one-on-one to what's the next offer, which I find ends up being that ramp up phase. A good marker of that is in a financial sense, about 150,000 a year. And that can vary from one person to the next. And that really is the time, because you don't want to build this elaborate funnel where you just go, okay, it's automated by too soon. A funnel is not for everybody, at least in the way we think of it as sold to us by many of these services such as ClickFunnels, FastFunnels. There's so many of them out there. And that's where the listen framework really comes in, because it is about only using automation and funnel techniques to get you into conversation so you can learn. And generally, there's that rebrand element, but usually it's, okay, I want to start systematizing this. I want to start leveraging technology. I want to start finding freedom from touching all these tools when I know I should be focused on the 1 hour meeting that I've got in 30 minutes, or I should be focused on cleaning out my time and my plate. Russell Brunson has a great phrase. He says, don't always think about how, think about who can do it. And the amazing day and age now is you can have that who to get a task done for $100 sometimes, or do something simple like release your podcast on a weekly basis and send content out for a very small fee. It's not an arm and a leg anymore. You can get help for such a low cost. And as an agency grow, I'm like, okay, I have this much money. I can get help and just grow with me. And it's around the world, and people are ready to serve you, whether you go to Upwork or use networks. It's just absolutely incredible how you can get through that startup phase and ramp up by building a systematic funnel of selling and scaling your coaching and consulting firms.
Now, you've helped several clients market their movement. What sets their mindset apart from other businesses?
Yeah, I think something that sets them apart from a movement thinker is, it really just come back to what we were talking about earlier, is they just have this drive and passion for that person's success. They see it, I'm like, I'm working with you. It's a drive you and I share. There is just this innate pleasure in seeing our clients get their time back, see their business grow, see the transformation that they bring. It tends to be that money is nice, and there's this awareness that you can't grow a movement without growing your funds. But the funds are merely to get a greater impact. And there's this deep sense of, I just want to influence and impact this community to achieve success. So one client I work with is actually helping parents find a way to fund their high school students' college tuition. And we know how expensive that's gotten. That's no easy thing anymore. But he's shown how your average parent sending a school, whether to be Harvard or one of the state colleges, can save $30,000 or more on their college degree if they just take some simple practices. And this gives him room, of course, to the fun words we like, save the inheritance and stay out of family feuds, because we know what a divisive and struggling issue finances can be. In doing that, he's excited to do it, not because it pays his bills, but because he gets to see families really see their kids off to the right college fit. And there's just a deep pleasure in seeing somebody bring a generous exchange. And that sense of transformation in people's lives often drives somebody who's got that movement mindset.
You get this feeling, this warm feeling, I guess, in your heart. It overcomes you when you see somebody else's success, that you might have contributed to that. Mm-hmm. And I have a tough time finding words for that, but it's just no other feeling.
Mm-hmm. They've done tests on this, on generosity, and it's really interesting to see what generosity does to your serotonin and your melatonin and your dopamine levels, and what giving of yourself does. And so that experience of seeing someone else's success from the productivity of your hands has a profound impact on the physiological power within your body, which of course then, we get this idea, well, it's driven by passion. Well, that passion and connection of success is really healthy for your body.
Can you share maybe the one thing that we can do, like my listeners and I can do now, to begin marketing our movement more powerfully?
The one thing I would say that people don't do enough is tap into their personal story and their personal why and share it over and over and over again. Something many of us in this audience will probably know it, Jeff Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow Jeff Walker, I can't tell you how many times I've heard the same personal story about being in his basement at dire straits, not enough money, 2 kids. But guess what story resonates with me? I too have been in that situation. And then his next story steps into, but now I can make it. And I went on this trip with Stu McLaren and Russell Brunson and all these cool people that all of us follow. And I was able to make an impact. And Jeff does it well, but tapping into these personal stories that really do drive why you're doing what you're doing, take time to think about it and to tell it over and over and over again.
Do you find that hard to do, you personally? Because I do. And coming from the corporate world, I was very much ingrained. Personal at home, business at work. Don't talk about your personal. And I don't know if the atmosphere is like that anymore, but it really was in the companies that I worked with. And that's just how I was trained. Then coming into the entrepreneurial world, creating a business, and I'm thinking I have to be all business, all business. No one, and in fact try to hide my personal life, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it took me a long time to like open up and reveal, it's like, hey, I like to do this in my spare time, and this is why I left the corporate world, and this is why I'm passionate, and I would, I know there's other people that want to work from anywhere, and you don't have to be trapped in corporate land. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're wired to have a different kind of freedom, then I believe that we can all find a lifestyle that we really desire. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's so hard. I think I even now I find it hard on social media just to share things.
Well, that's a different era. I think to your first question, yes, I find it hard for different reasons. I grew up in a family where these personal stories, our emotions, are extremely private. It's
Hmm.
deep conservatism. You don't share your religious thoughts. You don't share your political thoughts. You don't share your emotions, hardly with one another. So the sense of such high vulnerability, of such this really, so I find it, first and foremost, I've found it hard for years, and of course this same need to tell a story exists in business and in nonprofits and in ministry and in pastors. It's across the board. The more you can be vulnerable and share stories and be humble about, oh, you know what, I was wrong, I think this now, it's hard to do. And then what I also find difficult is, even though I'm willing to tell my stories live on Facebook or, whatever you can pull me in, I don't know what story to tell. And that's where we often get stuck is, okay, I'm willing to tell my story. I know my past says I should be private, or I should be staunch, or I shouldn't express my true thoughts. And there can be some thoughts to keep to yourself in your business. If your business isn't about politics, maybe don't bring your politics to the conversation. I avoid that for a lot of reasons. But yet, knowing what stories to tell is probably the hardest thing. And there are stories you should tell and stories you should leave out for the business, because you're trying to help people believe. There's an old scripture out there, for whether you read scriptures or not. Somebody cried out, I want to believe, help me in my unbelief. And it's this ability that you don't have to have the belief yourself, as you can latch onto a coach's belief, onto a friend's belief, and often that belief is not so much like the mystical out there belief. It's the belief that you have great things in you, the belief that you can build the business you desire and love, the belief that you can accomplish great things in your life. And I, having accomplished some of these things, have experience when somebody behind me doesn't. So being that voice of hope and belief in the right stories can draw people into the transformation you're wanting to share. And so those stories and testimonies, not only of your own, but also telling stories of the people you've worked with. Story is probably one of the deepest things that grips our emotion. And let's face it, we don't make decisions up here in the head to buy things, to work with a coach. We make it down in the heart. It's that sense of like, oh yeah, I chose my business coach because of a chemistry, so to speak. Oh, I feel that in my heart. We have chemistry. We just get each other. You understand what I believe. You understand the struggles I'm going through. I'm latching on to his belief in my potential. And it gives me faith in myself. And so those stories are so much about garnering that sense of connection.
And it takes time to get confident on telling your own story. It's getting easier. But it does take time, and it's a transition. I think some people feel like if they're telling stories and just being genuine is airing dirty laundry. And I think there's two totally different things.
Yeah, that is totally different. And being authentic and genuine, I think, is partly becoming easier because we're demanding it. Like, we're all sort of starting to read in because the internet, it sort of has a way of removing this ability to have a facade, because if you're this way over here and this way over here and it looks like you have two faces, people can call you out on it. Now, there's context of, you're probably going to talk different on LinkedIn than you talk on Instagram, and there's the context is different than having two faces. And airing your laundry, I have a friend who says it this way, just in a reply to that. There is a place to withhold, and the saying goes, scars are cool. Gushing blood all over the internet will deter and drive people away. You go to a doctor, you go to a psychologist, you go to a coach when you're gushing blood. I don't share my current struggles. I share how I overcame that struggle a week ago, a month ago. When it's a scar, when it's healed, when people aren't viscerally getting hit by the stuff from my fan, but really seeing here's what I went through and what I understand now. And they can latch onto, oh, you've moved from this was your normal, crisis happened, simple storytelling method. You were here, then some crisis happened, the peace was taken away, and you reached a new normal. Don't tell a story if you haven't reached that new normal, especially if it's visceral and ugly and there's gushing blood everywhere. There's a time to wait. But those stories of, hey, I was here and it was visceral and now I'm here, well, there's hope at the end. And people want to latch onto that feeling of hope and belief that they too can achieve what you're saying in your story that you achieved.
I like that analogy or visual. I got more of a visual on that one. I think that summed it up really well. Duane, I wanted to ask you a couple of things about growing your business. You've been doing this a while. If you knew now what you knew when you first started, is there anything that you would have changed?
Yeah, I think the first thing, and maybe not change, but I would tell myself one, it's not about arriving. It's about enjoying the ride. And although I've known that, just the nature of my personality, maybe it's the nature of the American dream, I'm always thinking about, well, I've got to reach this sum of money. Well, I've got to reach 1,000 people. And so this constant chasing of reaching a number, reaching a goal, while goals are amazing, and I'm not saying not to have goals, but to get obsessed with that sense of I need to prove it by having this number can put yourself in the hamster wheel. And that hamster wheel and the wood chips are not smelling so good because you've been sweating and defecating and you begin running the wheel in your own crap. And that can lead to burnout. And I think that's kind of what I would do, which is, of course, if I could change anything, make space once a week, not once a month, not once a year. Make space for you to work on yourself and on your business instead of in the business. Once a week, whether that's space to be creative, whether that's space to step away from the computer, because especially in the service-based business, I found it's so easy for me to emotionally and mentally get obsessed with showing my clients success and saying, look, you need this, and becoming very hyper responsive. I would say to myself, it's okay to wait a day. They can wait a day. or a week even on some of these replies. And so it can get very easy to get caught up and not take space. And, I felt these spiritual and physical and mental breakdown and burnout because sometimes 6-7 days a week of being obsessed with your clients and is this going to work can break you down. Staying in the hustle isn't always the right idea. There's a season to hustle. Don't hustle yourself to your health becoming not what you wanted. Your health is a rather nice thing to have.
Yeah, we only have one body, so yeah, that's very good advice. A season for hustle, but always have time for yourself to recharge. You've got to recharge.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the biggest challenge that you've faced in growing your business so far?
I think the greatest challenge that I faced was going from this kind of freelancer space, which is not that long ago. I was essentially in the freelancer mindset all the way until the end of 2019. And I had this vision, okay, I'm going to become a consultant and an agency. And it was this hurdle I tried over and over to jump over. And it was like, okay, I'll try this. And I did this project. Okay, I need this. Okay, well, I need to hire someone and spend a lot of money. Don't tell my tax return, but I spent a lot of money on somebody. No. But that was a really hard jump to make. Going from the freelancer to the consultant, what I had to do was let it all go. And so I told my client, look, I'm not operating this way anymore. And I had one, he was my key client who sucked every hour of the week out. And so I was like, okay, sure, it's paying the bills, but it's not, there's no money to grow something or pay somebody else to run the show. And so by letting him go and being in a spot where I went, okay, I have a small runway and no money coming in that sense of, okay, how am I going to put myself out there? And the good thing I did is I got some help. I hired some who's with that runway and got a little help. And I had been building a little team of freelancers I could reach out to. Oh, well, we need to do this piece of tech, or, oh, I need a web page built, and I could pay them for one-off projects, but I trusted them. And so having that to lean on, and in the season of letting it go and choosing to follow my mentor's advice and put myself on a platform, hence creating a podcast, really set me up mentally by creating the podcast. I think what I did for myself is I finally overcame the belief of I'm just a freelancer. I just get stuff done for people, to stepping into the mindset of, no, I actually know some stuff after 5 years of marketing and doing some client work and doing freelance work and studying a lot of courses, whether it be Jeff Walker's course or Stu McLaren's. I've taken a lot of courses. I've done a lot of coaching. And seeing a good amount of success. That mindset shift was an incredibly powerful one by getting up and starting the podcast, but also having my mastermind group to fall on and go, this is the decision I made, and I am scared out of my mind because I don't know how I'm going to make money next week or next month and feed my family. By letting it all go and stepping into that mindset, I went from a few thousand a month, seeing good freelance clients. Some months are better than others, but I was always having at least a healthy flat line to 4Xing that within 5 months. And so this year, being 2020 and all of its craziness, has been the best year for my business growth because I did step out and step into that mindset and lean into the people who were there to support me.
That's big. Congratulations, Duane.
Yeah,
That is
thank you.
awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's been an awesome journey. So you can do it. You can get your
You
movement, your
can.
consulting, your coaching thing out there. It just takes a leap of faith.
It does. Now, tell us a little bit more about your podcast. I know that it's been a while since we had talked last, but I still get to hear your voice in my earbuds. So I love listening to your podcast, but tell our listeners a little bit about it.
That is super encouraging. Thank you so much. The Marketing Your Movement show, that, right, it's this idea of we've been talking about. It's just a podcast where I jump on. It's sort of an every other week. I do an interview with somebody who's got something to offer, who's built a movement or who has a really good marketing technique. And then I spend time talking about how to build relationships with people to grow your movement, and some of those ideas behind movement methodology. And okay, what does it look like to kind of come over the bell curve of the movement, which is the same idea of early adopters. And I can't think of the term, but so I just kind of sharing tips and tricks and strategies and how to build your system, and a lot of this that we've been talking about. Sometimes I feel like a fun talking head, but more than anything, it's just a place to come and be around people who want to believe and champion your movement with you, just like my mastermind group has been there to champion my movement with me.
I'll definitely have a link in the show notes to point people to your podcast. I truly enjoy it, and I learn a lot, get different perspectives, and also it's reassuring. It's like, hey, I'm doing stuff right. Oh, I can improve here, and I love meeting your guests. You've given a lot of great resources, and I appreciate it.
Oh, gladly. It's been one of the funnest things I've done.
Your listen framework, we've mentioned that several times throughout the show, but you have the framework that's offered on your website. Is that correct?
I do, yeah. It's just a simple layout of the 6 things you should be doing to build your funnel in sequence to really have a masterful, story-filled funnel. And that framework is at duanezingale.com/listen. So if you can spell my name, it's really easy to find. But
Well,
Duane's not spelled the easy way. So it's there, and it's simple. It's locate your audience, invite them into the movement, survey them to get to know them in context of their challenges, teach them and empower them with the purchase. A purchase, giving money, is so empowering because you're committing in your mind to take action forward. And of course, nurturing your community for success. So that's the summary of the listen framework. And it's super powerful at just putting relationship and connection into your marketing process.
I want to ask you one last thing. Do you have a favorite resource or tool that had really made a difference for you professionally? Is there anything that just pops up on the top of the list that just changed your life?
Besides my mastermind group, if it was a resource or tool, I have so many tech tools I could get excited about. I would say for me, for communications, my favorite tool is the podcast, and then getting people into ConvertKit. The email list is a list I own. I'm not dependent on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm not dependent upon anybody but my own ability to send somebody a message. And ConvertKit has everything I need to be able to talk to a number of people, to automate a follow-up to people downloading that listen framework, and to have a one-on-one connection and just be able to do it. And with that alone, I could build a good startup company.
Mm-hmm. It's been a joy, Duane. Do you have any other comments or anything? My last question is, how do people find you?
Yeah, if you're not getting that download, I am Duane Zingale on every platform. So with my name, you'll find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, all the new platforms. I'm always exploring. But one of the best things you can do is just email me. I'm one email away. If you message me on all these social platforms, it might take several days because this time of the world and everything that's going on, it's wild. So Duane at duanezingale.com. And so that you'll find me, and I will reply fairly fast as me. And nobody's going to do it for me. It's actually me. So,
well, thanks, Duane, for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a fun conversation.
Isn't Duane great? Now be sure to click down and view all the show notes for the resource links, as well as the links where you can grab his listen formula and the direct link to his podcast so that you can subscribe. Well, thanks for listening. And if you hang out on Instagram, I'd love it if you'd follow me. And it would be super cool if you'd take a screen capture of this episode and share it. And be sure to tag me. Until next time, have a fantastic week.